We've been sold the lie that things make happiness. They don't. Happiness makes happiness. Hello, you gorgeous little thingies and thingiettes. How are you doing? Today, I'm going to talk about the fact that the entire society in which we find ourselves has been set up to make us look at the worst case scenarios. It's made us be scared, to be frightened, to be worried, to be scared to leave our house. And what's that all about? And how do we get over it? I'll tell you all about it on the other side. So I said to the emissaries, talking about this subject, I said, it seems that we've been trained to look at the worst case scenario in this society. It's trained us to do that. And the emissaries chuckled, because they sometimes have a little bit of a chuckle. And they said, yes, I wonder why that is. Why would society want us to expect the worst? Well, because that makes the worst happen. When we expect something to happen, it generally happens. Before I start going down this road of creation and how we can create negative things and we can create positive things, I want to set something in place so that you know, so that you're not so scared about your thoughts, right? Because we have shit thoughts. If you have the thoughts that I have, sometimes I think, why am I imagining that? What are you thinking about, Gordon? It's just the way that things work. I want you to understand that negative thoughts, negative projections to the future do not have anywhere near the potential or the strength that positive thoughts have. If I were going to put it on a scale, I would say a positive thought is 100 and a negative thought is 1. Okay? This is very important to understand because we have a lot of negative thoughts. If we could manifest negative thoughts like we can manifest positive ones, our world would be filled, our life would be filled with terrible things because we have weird thoughts all of the time. But no, they manifest much slower, they've got much less energy, negative thoughts. Okay, so that puts your mind at rest. And that kind of makes sense because of the fact that everything, this devil's world that we live in, everything is set up for us to have repeated and multiple negative thoughts, fears, worries, concerns. For those who remember, you know, I was born in 1964, okay? For the first, let's say, 15 years of my life, I travelled in a car without a seatbelt. 3 kids on the back seat. We used to slide backwards and forwards. We would play, okay? Never did we have a problem. We would go outside and we would play. Our parents would send us outside and say, don't come back until lunchtime. We would play outside, we would hurt ourselves, we would graze our knees, we would have a hell of a time. And then little by little, like the totalitarian tiptoe effect, we started to have concerns imposed on us. Like you have to put a seatbelt on. In fact, we're going to fine you if you don't. But the reason that you put the seatbelt on is to keep yourself safe because driving is so dangerous. We all need to have. When I was a kid, I didn't have any of those. You know, I had an allergic reaction to something. My mum didn't get me any of those. Now it's like, if you want to live, if you want to be healthy, you've got to get all of these. You've got to get them because if not, oh my goodness, you could get measles. We all had measles. All my brothers and sisters, we all had measles, got the scars to prove it. We all had mumps. And when I had mumps, well, all of us, we would enter into such a high temperature that we would all hallucinate. I used to love the hallucinations. It was incredible. It was like, whoa, I'm really enjoying this. And now, it's bad to have those. It's terrible. In fact, I saw really interesting this investigation into this for measles. And the man was saying, so 2 children have gone off to the other side because they got measles. Yeah, 2 children have left this plane because of measles. He said, and that's terrible. That's 2 children too many. However, the children that got this for measles, it was something like 150 of them have gone off because of a negative reaction to that. And he said, I don't see the balance anymore. And it's understandable. But if you were to talk to a doctor, it's highly dangerous for you to go through life without these. It's dangerous. You are asking for it. Don't send your kids out to the street. Don't, because there are white van men who are going to take them away. Don't keep them inside. Don't do this. Don't do that. Health and safety. When, in the 80s, health and safety came into the basically the industry. Nightmare. I used to spend so much time in health and safety trying to do the paperwork, trying to stop things from happening, putting notices up. And basically what's happened is that our world has become smaller and smaller and more dangerous, perceptively dangerous. And the wonders like this, in this tiny little 15-minute city, yeah, where everything is safe as long as you don't go outside. And so we've been trained to focus on what we don't want, to focus on the dangers. Parents are so much more fearful now than they ever used to be. They didn't give a shit before. I'm sure they did give a shit, but it was like, get out. I've got to clean the floor. I've got to clean the house. Get outside. And now it's like, where you going, son? Have you got your mobile? Give me a message when you get there. Give me a message halfway through. Give me a message when you leave. I'll be there to pick you up. Yeah. My dad never picked me up from fuck all. He never picked me. If I had to go somewhere, if I wanted to go somewhere, I had to go. I had to find my own way. I had to walk or get the bus or whatever. And that's because they've created a society that is scared to breathe, quite literally sometimes, scared to live. No wonder we've got so many mental imbalances now. So many people who are sad and depressed and all of it. And of course, all of this has just made that a million times worse. But then we had this wave of positive thinking. The idea of positive thinking, which lots and lots of people have tried to poo-poo, and it doesn't surprise me because positive thinking is absolutely the dog's bollocks. Positive thinking makes things happen. If you've ever been around a positive thinker, they are a breath of fresh air. They make you feel better. And if you've ever been around a negative thinker, a neghead, as we call them, somebody who goes, that won't work. No, it's not a good idea. I wouldn't even go there. That's too dangerous. You lose the will to live when you're with those people. I certainly do. And when I was a manager in textiles, I started to learn all about the positive thinking. I did a course of the Minute Manager, all the books, I read them all. I learned how to say, rather than just say yes, I would say absolutely, of course. Yeah, and how are you? Instead of saying I'm very well, or even worse than that, British people are not good at overstating. Not too bad. I'm not too bad. Yeah, and we feel that that's quite good. How are you? I'm not too bad. We feel that that's quite good. It's not. I'm bad. I'm just not too bad. But I am bad. It's like when we say things in the UK, we're weird. It's terribly good. Terrible. Yeah. How can that be linked to good? And we think that that's good. It's not. But we do in the UK. It's beautiful and sunny today. Make the most of it, because it won't last. We've been trained to, really, if you want the truth of the matter, we've been trained to unmanifest good and manifest bad. That's what we've been trained to do. And it's time to stop it. It's time to pay attention to what it is that we are manifesting in our lives. And so I did all of these courses on how to be positive. And I love it. I'm an optimist. I'm a natural optimist. And I learned how to be even more optimistic. I believe that it has really served me. I believe that I've been able to manifest a happy life because I discovered how to be positive. Before that, I had a shit life. Before that, I used to bring terrible things into my life. Obviously, what I had to do was sort my shit out as well. You can't just be manifesting without having your shit sorted out. But once you get that beautiful balance of I'm balanced inside and I'm going to manifest what I want, boy, you can change your life. I'd learned about affirmations years ago. When I was in my 20s, I learned about affirmations, and then I forgot about them. And then years later, I remembered. When my life was in chaos, I remembered and I thought, wow, I know how to manifest good things into my life. But I think I forgot on purpose, because that was my plan. I wasn't meant to manifest good things into my life. I needed to go through the lessons that I needed to learn. But then I remembered and I thought, let's do this. I was bankrupt at the time. I was bankrupt. I had no work. I was delivering bread in the morning. I was working in a restaurant on a night time, and I was delivering catalogs during the day. My life was a mess. And I thought, now it's time. Now it's time. But like all manifestation, you've got to be able to believe it. And so what I did was I thought, I can believe maybe getting 3,000. I can believe that. I can, maybe. But I had no idea where that would come. I had no sources of income. And so I started to manifest, to affirm 3,000. And the affirmation was very, very simple. Thank you for the £3,000 that I have. And I imagined myself having the money. And I imagined how it feels. And I was so happy. And I did that, I would say, probably about 20 to 30 times a day. I went for it. It was just, as I was walking doom, I would just be, thank you for the 3,000, thank you for the 3,000, feeling good about it, and that. And then, literally about a month later, I got 4,000. Okay? 4,000. Never complain if it's slightly more than what you want. In fact, never make it overly specific. I just said 3,000, but I was just imagining my hands filled with notes. And I got that and I thought, wow, this works. This shit works. Right. So now I need to get money to resolve my life. We were going to move to Spain, and I was very worried about how we were going to do it. We didn't have enough money behind us. And so I thought, let's go. Let's start manifesting. And so I decided that I was going to manifest £50,000. Where that was going to come from, I had no idea, but I didn't care, because it's not my job. This is not our job. When we want to manifest something, do not ask where it's going to come from. That just spoils it. The universe is endless. It has endless resources. You don't need to tell it where it needs to come from. In fact, I think it hampers it if you start trying to second guess where it's going to come from. So I just started affirming, thank you for the 50,000. I would see it in my account, I would see it in my hands, and I would feel it. And obviously the feeling is the most important. When you feel it, you've got to feel it as though you have it. And feel what it's like. Imagine somebody comes into the room and says, here, 50,000 just for you. How would you feel? That feeling is what you have to feel. And I would do that every single time that I remembered, I would affirm it. 50,000. But even then, a part of me was going, poof, I have no idea where this is. Where could it come from? I have no idea. But I did it. And I did it with that feeling of, hey, it's not my job to know. Let the universe decide. And then I would say, I think it was around about 6 weeks after I started, I went down to the front door and I picked up the letters, and there was a letter addressed to me, and it was from my pension company. I had a private pension with my textile company. Didn't know anything about it, wasn't expecting it until I was 65. And I opened it and it said this, the very first line said, the government is changing the legislation on private pensions, and they are making it so you can't get your private pension until you're 60, something like that. And at the time, I was 51. And they said, and I thought, well, that's a shame. Oh, well, I'm going to have to wait another 9 years, but I wasn't expecting it anyway. And then in the next paragraph, it said, however, we are going to allow you to take your pension at 52. And I was just about to turn 52. And we're going to give you a lump sum of 55,000. Well, if you'd been standing next to me there, you would have seen my knees tremble. You would have had to catch me as I fell to the floor. I was stunned by that. It was like never, and the idea of getting any money from a pension had not entered into my mind. It was not a possibility. I hadn't even thought of it. And there it was. And they paid me the money. And I moved to Spain and we had money to be able to get some renovations done on the house and everything. It was fantastic. That was when I realised that this shit works. I realised that this was not a coincidence. I had manifested that into my life. We believed so much in manifesting that my wife and I sat down. We had a vision board and we put stuff up. And we sat down and we drew our future. We drew the house that we wanted to live in. And this was at the time when I was bankrupt, by the way. We drew the cars that we wanted. We drew the children that we wanted because we were trying for children and it wasn't working. We even drew the dog that we wanted. And then we put it on the board and we looked at it and we looked at it and we all, oh, it was lovely. And we chat about it because this really helps, talking about it, making it real. And then we popped it into a box because we were packing up and we just put it in the box and everything and forgot about it. And about 3 or 4 years later, we were going through stuff and I found it and I looked at it and I thought, holy shit. Everything that we drew in that picture we have now and more. But everything, specifically everything, even down to the car that my wife drew, she had bought that car. Now, you might say, oh, well, that was just an unconscious programming. And yes, that's true. It was unconscious programming. But I believe that there's so much more to that than just your unconscious programming. My unconscious programming did not create the situation with my pension. No matter how much I programmed myself unconsciously, I wasn't going to make that happen. The universe had to make that happen. And then finally, I discovered the most important thing. I discovered after spending so much time affirming stuff into my life, things, I discovered that what I needed to affirm was happiness. Because when you're happy, you don't need anything. When you're happy, you attract lots and lots of things into your life. Things happen automatically when you are truly happy. And so my affirmation, and it still is to this day, is gratitude and happiness. And I give thanks for being happy every day. I don't affirm things anymore. Why? Because they just come. Things come. But I do affirm my happiness every day of my life. And I would commend you to do the same. If you need things, start affirming your happiness and the things. But don't leave happiness out. I've had lots of things in my life and I haven't been happy. Happiness is the number one, then things. But I promise you that if you affirm happiness and you get to happiness, then things just come. Enough to make you happy. And if you had nothing and you were happy, does it matter that you've got nothing? We've been sold a lie that things make happiness. They don't. Happiness makes happiness. And so that's our job. To affirm happiness and to affirm the things that we want. But just be careful when you're affirming. Get some balance. Affirm balance into your life. And I tell you that from experience because I didn't. And I paid the price for a long time. Tell me, do you have any stories about affirming? I just heard a beautiful one through an email today from a gentleman in South Africa who told me about an affirmation that was made and how the universe very, very quickly brought something that they needed. It was a beautiful story. If you have any, share them. I'd love to read them. I love you all and I'll speak to you all later. Bye-bye.